Hey everyone, welcome back to Topher Drives, where I am back in Michigan, and this week I have been driving the 2024 Kia EV9 Land, Kia's brand new three-row electric SUV. And I was thinking about this earlier. They are super early to this segment because the only real competitors that this has, and I don't even know if you could call them competitors, are the Rivian R1S and the Tesla Model X. Of course, you could argue the Tesla Model Y and some of the other smaller SUVs that have third row seats, but I don't really think those compare size-wise. So this is kind of like the first mainstream brand to have a three-row electric SUV. And well, I didn't really know what to expect. I've seen photos of this online, of course, but I've never seen one in person. And when it showed up, I, for one, thought this looks like something out of a Pixar movie. But then I also realized it's not as big as I thought it was. It's still a fair size for a three-row SUV, but the pictures online make this thing look massive. But, well, here it is. And tonight, as the sun sets, we're going to go from here in this famous church parking lot to downtown Ann Arbor. I'm going to grab myself some dinner, and then we'll finish the video with a bit of city driving, maneuverability, and see how cumbersome this is through a tight parking structure. But before we do any of that, let's walk you around this Kia EV9 and show you what it looks like inside and out. And while I said this looks like it comes out of a Pixar movie, I think a big contributor to that are these wheels. 275 50 R20 section Kumo tires, and well, these are 20-inch wheels, and they don't really have any openings, just these little spokes right here, and they're kind of a 3-spoke, but also kind of a 6-spoke, maybe something. I don't know, but they are definitely unique to this car. It's also finished in ivory silver matte, which to me doesn't really look silver. It looks kind of tan, but I think that's because the sun is shining on it and it's bringing out the gold flake. Overall design, I think it's all right, you know? I don't really have any problem with it. The only thing I will say is it does kind of look like a Kia Soul that took Viagra from the back because of the taillights, but we'll gloss over that for now, and we'll use this time to show you in the back of the EV9. Of course, we have a power lift gate. Trying to work with my lighting here. Get you guys in here. Okay, here we go. So with the third row folded up, we have some amount of room back here. I have my snow scraper under here as well. A little bit of under boot storage, not really a ton, but where you see the room, of course, is when you fold the third row down. And joy of joys, it's not a power third row. You can just kind of fling those things down. So we have a pretty good amount of room in here. This is the 6-seater configuration of the EV9. You can also have it as a 7-seater on lower trims. And I'm going to sit in these third rows, but before we do that, I want to talk to you about the trim levels of this. So I said earlier, this is the EV9 Land, and it's a dual motor with a 99.8 kilowatt hour battery. It makes 379 horsepower and 443 pound-feet of torque. This is one from the top, but from the bottom, it goes light, wind, land, GT line, which is a bit strange. They should have called the GT line like volcano or magma or something, because they're kind of just, they should have had a fire element, I think, for the GT line, but it's just called the GT line. So this is one from the top. It's about 74 grand. It starts just under 70 grand, and we'll show you what you get for that price once we step in. There's a lot to cover on this car. I'm trying to make it all make sense. So here's our second row captain's chairs. 6-seat configuration. One push of this button moves that seat forward, and you can climb into the third row seat. Now this has Kia's flat floor EV platform, or whatever they call it. So we do have a pretty low floor, meaning that at 5'11", I can sit back here pretty comfortably, and my knees aren't in my face. Third row passengers get their own cup holders, USB-C ports, and vents back here, so you do have some things. Now, this is in a bit of a forward position. If I were to scoot over and be behind this seat, I wouldn't have quite as much room, but I'll leave this seat in this position, and we'll scoot up to the second row, so you all can get an idea for how much legroom there is total. And I think I could comfortably sit here. I'm almost touching the seat in front of me, again, at 5'11", this seat being in my driving position. So I'd probably want to take my manual seat adjust and move that back just a bit. Okay, Here's the coolest thing in the second row. We have this floating center console sort of thing going on up front, and it comes all the way back to the back seat. And we have this big pull-out cubby, which you can use as a surface, or you can push the surface back and use it for storage. And you could fit quite a few things in there. It's about the size of like a half gallon of milk. Shut that. We have armrests here in the second row, and this has heated and cooled second row seats and sunshades, which would be usable today if you were sitting on that side of the vehicle. I have found these a little bit difficult to do up. If you watch the winding road videos, you'll see me fumbling around with that in one of them. So, all right, let's hop out of the second row, which, when the seat is in a normal position, has a ton of legroom and headroom and 2 sunroofs. Moonroofs, rather. Let's take one last walk around this EV9, and then we'll jump in and we'll take it for a drive. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of the design on this thing, because I've shown it to a number of my friends this week. Half of them have said that's hideous, and the other half have said, oh man, that is excellent. I feel like I'm kind of in the middle. I don't really know what to think about it, but I'll tell you what, I do appreciate things that are different, not just the copy-paste jelly bean crossover that we're so accustomed to in 2024. This at least makes a statement, and I love it for that. So here are our front seats. The interior color is just called gray. We have these kind of mesh headrests. So I don't know what the idea behind these is, because the second row does not have them. We have a relax mode for our front seat, which puts this leg rest out. Oh, additionally, sorry, I promise I'm going to get in the car very soon. This has the optional towing package, which gives us a 5,000 pound towing capacity as well as self-leveling rear suspension. So 5,000 pounds, you could tow your Miata to the track. You could tow a small camper, something of the sorts, with your Kia EV9. All right, let's hop in this thing. Let that get me to my seating position. Start-stop button is on our shifter. It's in a little bit of an awkward spot. I usually just hit it with my thumb. And before I show you guys this interior, I'm going to move the car because the sunlight is blinding. I want you guys to be able to see what's going on in here. All right, cool. We'll go right here. Okay, so number of things up front here. For one, we have a power adjust steering column, which is very nice, and I do appreciate that in a car that is $74,000. Otherwise, pretty normal Kia switchgear up here, Kia cluster and infotainment. It all kind of works the same as it always has. The only thing I'm noticing that is different is this little panel right here. Now, this shows all of our climate and everything. The only thing I don't like about it is it's blocked by the steering wheel while you're driving. So if you want to look and see what's going on with your climate, you have to look around the steering wheel. So it's in a bit of a weird spot. I probably would have just left that blank. But we do at least have some physical climate controls. We have physical control for our vent speed as well as our temperature, which is nice. We have a big slider volume knob here, though the only thing I've found that's a little bit annoying with this is it's easy to push it down and mute the audio while you're trying to turn it down. So that's just something there to consider. We have this row of haptic touch buttons, which you really have to get into and push for them to do anything. I've got my star here to take us to our wireless Apple CarPlay. Everybody clap. Kia's finally done some wireless Apple CarPlay, so we are happy for them. But, I mean, it's a Kia. The infotainment works fine. It's quick. I've had no problems with CarPlay connecting this week. Everything works as it should. Our floating center console up here gives way to a couple of Volkswagen-style pop-out cup holders, which are nice. You can cover those up with this little cubby door thing. Got some USB-C ports up here by the driver and passenger's knee. If you wanted to do wired phone projection, you could. And I've got my USB-C cord plugged in there. The glove box comes down on a bit of an interesting hinge there, you can see. And let's go ahead and grab our Monroney, and we'll go over the options that this has. Like I said, land, long range. They say 280 miles of range is the EPA estimate here for this EV9 Land. We have the towing package, which I mentioned, floor mats and carpet cargo mat with seat back protection, all in $74,230. This particular EV9 was built in Korea, but apparently they're going to start building them in Georgia this year. Don't really know what that's going to mean for build quality, but we shall see. All right, let's throw our seatbelt on. Let's activate our camera rear view mirror, and let's hit the road here in the Kia EV9. Here are our cameras. We have, of course, a forward and reverse facing camera, as well as a 360 cam. We also have a light up Kia badge, which kind of just works when it wants to. It just went out there, so I don't know what the deal with that is. We of course have regen braking. We have 4 levels controlled by the paddle shifters like any other Kia. I usually like to drive with my iPedal in full stop mode. It is rush hour currently, so we're gonna struggle a little bit pulling out of here, but we're going to unleash all 443 pound-feet of torque. Let's put this in my drive mode, and we're gonna go ahead and shoot this gap here. I have my drive mode set up for comfort steering, normal climate control, and sport throttle response. So put your foot down and it kicks you back. Now, 379 horsepower, 443 pound-feet of torque doesn't sound like a lot in a 5,700 pound SUV. This thing weighs 3 tons, so keep that in mind. But honestly, the 0 to 40 feels very quick, and we'll demonstrate that once we have a chance up here. Oh, our light up Kia badge came back. That's nice. But from a daily driving standpoint, I've had a great couple of days in this thing. It's comfortable, easy ingress, egress. Getting in and out of this thing is nice. The steering weight is beautiful. It's nice and light, which I love in an SUV like this. As far as NVH goes, this thing is whisper quiet. Of course, EVs always have quieter tires because they don't make any noise, so you have to be quiet. But wind noise included, it's very quiet in this car. The ride also is very nice. I've been trying for the last couple of days to come up with serious things that I don't like about this car, and I have been struggling to do so. I mean, this is a very nice effort from Kia. The only thing I would say is that you have to consider your competition here, the Rivian R1S and the Tesla Model X. Those are a little bit of a step up in my opinion, and the silver lining here is that you don't have to spend $75,000 on a Kia EV9. In fact, the base rear-wheel drive car starts at just $55,000, whereas the Rivian R1S and the Tesla Model X base prices are around $75,000, $80,000. So that's what this EV9 would compete with. But if you want a rear-wheel drive EV9, even a long-range rear-wheel drive car, it's going to set you back about $60,000. So you are saving a bit of money, and in this segment, it is certainly the cheapest right now. But it doesn't feel like a piece of junk. I mean, everything in here feels very nice and well put together. Nothing squeaks or rattles. And when I bring that up in new car reviews, that is a legitimate thing. We drive brand new cars that squeak and rattle like crazy. So it isn't outrageous to say, well, this brand new car doesn't have any squeaks and rattles, because there are a lot that do. And this EV9 is not one of them. We do have some driving propulsion, whatever sounds. I think active sound design is what they call it here in the EV9. Yes, active sound design. So we can turn on our driving noise here, and you can hear that. Give you a little taste of this power here. We'll get it from about 20 and we'll go full throttle. So it packs a punch. I mean, you know, this isn't ripping my face off, but it sets you back in your seat. It's no joke, and I wasn't really expecting that, to be honest. We'll leave the noise on so you guys can hear that, but we'll put it on the quietest setting because I'm not the biggest fan of driving EVs around with propulsion noise. I just think it's kind of silly. I love the effortless nature of EVs, and it's important, no matter the size of the EV, to have this in place. IS300, brother. All right, we're gonna go ahead and jump on the highway up here. We'll give you guys some highway driving impressions with this Kia EV9. I wanted to note I'm at an 89% charge. I've got 234 miles of range left. Current outside temperature is 38 degrees Fahrenheit. We are doing a brake test, apparently. Okay. And EPA's range is 280. So we're going to be a little bit below that, of course, with the cold outside temperature, as well as the fact that I have the heat on in here. And I was going to say I had the heated steering wheel on because I thought I did, but I don't. So we'll turn that on now. All right, we're going to go into sport mode here. I want to show you guys the chassis on this Kia EV9. Ooh, a little bit of traction control there. I love that you can get into a massive electric vehicle like this, a 6,000-pound SUV, and just hustle it like that. It's got such a low center of gravity, and the front end on this thing is sharp. And we're just on some all-season tires. I mean, we're not running on anything crazy, and it handles nice. I've just remembered the one thing I don't like about Kia driving sounds, and it is that they do stay on forever. They drone. If you're in a BMW or any other electric car, they only make noise when you're on throttle, when you're accelerating, but Kias just make noise constantly. So there's that. I'll give you a second to observe our NVH. Of course, we have every safety thing there is known to man in this Kia EV9. It essentially drives itself, though I'm not super impressed with the system on this car. It is a little bit all over the place with the steering assist, so I haven't really been using that. But it's so quiet. I mean, there's got to be a ton of sound deadening. I suppose that adds to the 5,700-pound curb weight of this thing. It's just nice, guys. You could eat up the miles in this thing. Granted, 280 miles isn't a crazy long range, but with the fast charging, with Kias being able to go from 10 to 80% in 15 minutes or whatever, it's easy. So let's give you a little taste of this sound system. So we have a 14-speaker Meridian in this. I've adjusted it to where I think sounds best, and we'll go ahead and play our favorite song here, and see what you guys think about how it sounds. Looks like it's been playing on repeat this whole time. Good. We've got this volume slider, or we have this one here on the steering wheel. So, I've gotten some grief for saying this in the past. I have honestly never been the biggest fan of Meridian sound systems. I don't really get the hype. I think it's all kind of about the brand name. I think people think it's a lot better than it actually is. I'm not saying this is a bad sound system by any means. I think it is actually quite good. But I'm always longing for more with Meridians. I don't know what it is. They just never really scratch the itch in my brain. I never have the strong hits from the bass that I would like, and it's got good highs. It's a crispy noise. I don't know. It's just it doesn't fully satisfy my desire for a sound system, especially in a $75,000 three-row SUV. So I would like to see something a little bit better, and this honestly kind of goes for Kia and Hyundai as a whole. They never really have the best sound systems. The only ones that are great are the Lexicons in the Genesis cars. If only we could get something that good in a Kia. But that's maybe why they don't sound as good, because they want to make you buy the Genesis to get the best sound system. So we're going to stop up here. I'm going to get a poke bowl, and I'm going to eat it in the car. We'll see. I think I'll be able to set it right on here. I think that'll work well. But Emily's at work tonight, so I'm on my own for dinner. So in my mind, that means go and spend $23 on a poke bowl and a mango calpico. So that's what I'm going to do. And we'll test some maneuverability. This is kind of, it's a pretty tight parking lot in here, so we'll see how she does. I'm so happy that sunsets are back in my life. It's tough to go without the sun. You guys seen how cheap Mustang Mach-E's have gotten? It's unbelievable. You can get standard range Mach-E's for like $23,000, and GTs are like 35 grand. Nuts. I went to the first drive event for the Mach-E GT. It was like a $70,000 vehicle, and they're just 2 years later, they're half the price. Begs the question of how fast will EVs continue to depreciate? I don't know. You may be able to have yourself a Kia EV9 for 30 grand in a couple of years. Let's get up here. 7.8 inches of ground clearance, so no driveways, curbs, anything. None of that should be a problem for you in your EV9. We're going to back in right here. There we go. Wow, I am not doing a great job parking today. There we go. Pretty good turning circle on this, I've noticed. So it doesn't feel as cumbersome as I was expecting, and I'm looking forward to taking it to the parking structure and testing that out in there, because that is, of course, the tightest of scenarios. So let's shut this Kia EV9 off. I'm going to run in and grab some dinner. Walking back to the EV9, you'll notice that it will unlock itself for me as I get close to it, but I wanted to show you all this key. It's kind of like a matte white like plastic table sort of consistency, and then you'll see door handles pop out, and they move in a very different sort of way. I mean, they just pull straight out. I guess that isn't super different, but usually door handles go on an angle. I don't know what I'm saying right now, but here we are with my poke bowl and my mango calpico, just like I said. All right, let's see what our eating sort of situation is here in the EV9. The beauty of EVs is you can start them and let them run while you eat, and you don't feel wasteful because there's no ICE engine running. So I spent $20 on this meal here. Let's put that receipt away. So I could set this here and have it, or I could set my drink somewhere else since I'm not going anywhere, down in the door pocket. Put this forward and set it here, though I would be a little bit worried about it sliding. So I think up here is going to be the winner with the drink right here in the cup holder. Okay, I'm going to eat this really quick. We'll give you guys a little bit of ASMR. You can skip this part if that freaks you out. I will not be offended at all. Break our chopsticks. This is just, if I was left alone for the rest of my life and I had to just decide to eat by myself, this is like what I would have every night. This is just pure filth to me. I am full of sushi, and I'm ready to embark on this treacherous 2-mile drive to downtown Ann Arbor. Let's put the EV9 into drive and hit the road. I like the quickness of the steering rack as well. All right, guys, I'm sorry. I have to turn this off. There's nobody behind me. That needs to be off. That is driving me nuts. Okay. continue. Very easy to control one pedal drive. This iPedal Max does a great job. All right. I love how in EVs you can just sort of blast around and be gone. I think what I like most about this Kia EV9 is the way that they've given it a bit of an eccentric design. It doesn't necessarily look like anything else, apart from a bit like a Kia Soul at the back, but regardless, I like that they've designed it in a unique way, but they haven't gone crazy with the way that it drives. And I think that that's okay, because in a segment like this, you just want something you can get in and forget that you're even driving a car, and the EV9 does a great job at that. It's so smooth, it's so effortless. The steering weight and responsiveness and quickness is perfect. Everything in here is easy to use. So the next part of our drive here is a bit of a narrow road. A road that I certainly wouldn't want to drive a Lamborghini Aventador on. But we'll see how we feel in the EV9. So this Chevy Cruze is going to straddle 2 lanes here. It's usually what most people do. Still straddling 2 lanes. Which one are you going to go for, pal? Still both? Nope, you're going to go for the right lane, so we'll take the left. Okay. So this part of the road, not super narrow. 45 mile an hour speed limit. Where it gets narrow is up here, and we'll have to see. The packaging in this car does really make sense because it isn't cumbersome. They haven't really wasted any room in here. Every seat has an adequate amount of room. I had Emily in here earlier. She was cozy over in the passenger seat. It does feel a little big. You can see here, I've got traffic about a foot to my left and about 6 inches to my right here. I've also got this van, which is straddling the lane a bit. But we're doing all right. We fit. Now, the main question here is, I think, would I pick this over an ICE petrol gas counterpart? And the closest relator here would be a Kia Telluride. And this car, in my opinion, does feel a step up from a Telluride in every single way. And it should, because it's very expensive in comparison to a Telluride. So would I pick it over a Telluride? I don't know. It's tough for me in that way because a Telluride isn't really my top pick in that segment. In my mind, I'm thinking, would I have this over a Mazda CX-90? And I don't think I would, because you can have a loaded Turbo S Mazda CX-90 for like 60 grand, 65 grand. And that's $10,000 cheaper than this. And you can go further than 280 miles in a CX-90. So it's a little tough, in my opinion, when it comes to cars like this, because at the end of the day, you're not really buying this car for the range. I mean, 280 miles, whatever. And it's a little tough because usually three-row SUVs, you like to think that, well, they're a little bit of an adventure vehicle. You like to load up the family and go somewhere. And the fast charging does certainly help with this car, I will admit. You can sort of do the whole charging thing in 15, 20 minutes. There's my ticket. But I don't know. It's tough. I mean, on the other hand, you could argue that that's a plus for road trips because you're able to charge this so quickly and be able to go 280 miles. So, you know, do with that information what you will. I could honestly see both sides of the argument. If it were up to me, I'd probably get an ICE competitor to this, just because I'm not really the biggest EV guy. I do like the simplicity and the ease of them, but I don't know. It's just me being a boomer there for a second. Maneuverability, I mean, you guys have seen, it's so easy. This car is, I mean, the turning circle is fantastic. You can just blast up here. Yeah, it's great. It is great. Actually making sure I don't take the corners too sharp because it turns so quickly. I'll show you guys the turning radius here. I mean, Yeah, it's great. Good for something this size, that is for sure. Especially for a car that doesn't have rear wheel steering. Gets it done. I'm pretty happy with this thing. Like I said, I don't really have any complaints. I think Kia has made something nice. This car just feels nice. Sometimes you get in a Kia, and I hate to sound this way, but you get in a Kia and you're kind of blown away by it at first because you're thinking that it's great value for money, and then you live with it for a few days and you understand why it is so cheap. I'm not getting that with this. I think that they've finally gotten a lot of their materials figured out in this cabin, and the way that this car drives, steering feel is big. Steering feel is a big thing for me, and it feels nice in this. Nothing rattles. It's good. I mean, I don't know what else to really say about this car, and that's probably a good thing because somebody's just going to want to get in this thing, drive it, forget about it. So if you're in the market for an electric three-row SUV, you don't want to be in a Tesla Model X and you don't want to spend 90 grand on a Rivian R1S, well then Kia has got you covered with the EV9. We have a lot of other three-row SUVs coming to market, like I think Volvo's making one. I'm sure that will be quite good. Volvo's pretty good at making EVs. Use our good turning circle to stick it over here for the outro. All right, guys. Well, thanks for hanging out with me here with the Kia EV9. A little day in the life shortened thing, just driving to the city, watching me eat sushi, and then driving up a parking structure. But, you know, sometimes that's all it takes to review a car. Actually, before we go, as you can see, very good ambient lighting in this car. I'm very, very pleased with it. And let's show you some of the colors that we get with the ambient lighting here in the car. Go to our setup menu, go to vehicle, go to lights, ambient lighting. We have that set all the way up for brightness, of course. And this is where you can choose your color. I've got mine set to a custom dual color right now, mocking the ultramarine in Mercedes-Benz because that is my favorite ambient lighting color in the world. But we also have lots of other silly descripting colors here, such as concentration, healing forest, wonderful day, mind care, meditation, and creative moment. Should have had this on. Bit of a creative moment for us tonight. Blue flight, peaceful forest again, dreamy purple, violet cloud, orange delight, golden insight, refreshing sea, live red, urban sky, and polar white. And of course, you can set your own number of custom colors in here. I have mine set to this ultramarine type thing here. So, yeah, that's the Kia EV9. Thank you guys again so much for watching. We'll jump out. We'll give you one last look here at this car. And I guarantee you I have forgotten some things about this. So please, in the comment section, if you have any questions about the Kia EV9, I've lived with this thing for about 3 days. So ask away. Thank you all so much for watching. I am freezing, so I'm going to jump back in the car, but that's going to wrap it up for the Kia EV9 and for our little drive today. See you next time. Take care.